The New York Jets just got a shocking injury update that has huge implications for this Thursday night game against the New England Patriots, and we have to break it all down. What's up, guys? I'm Matt Long. Welcome to Jets Football 365. Guys, if you're a New York Jet fan, please hit that subscribe button. It really helps me out a ton. But getting into the news for today, coming from Adam Schefter, the New York Jets downgraded wide receiver Garrett Wilson and cornerback Azareye'h Thomas to out for Thursday night's game against the New England Patriots. Now, just to go through quickly, Garrett Wilson, another injury on his knee. He's going to be out 3 to 4 games. This one being the first of those games. Get well, Garrett Wilson, but don't come back too fast. We need to make sure you're healthy for when we are playing meaningful football games, and unfortunately, that's not today. But on to Azareye'h Thomas, the guy that I'm sure less Jets fans know about, the guy that's more under the radar, a third-round pick out of Florida State this season, who is now put into a starting role after Sauce Gardner was traded to the Indianapolis Colts. Azareye'h Thomas, so far this season, has been an under-the-radar standout for the New York Jets and someone that we can be excited about long-term. When a new regime comes in, they always want to pick out their guys. They don't want to use the players that the old regime picked out, and Azareye'h Thomas is in the mold of the type of cornerback that our new head coach, Aaron Glenn, is looking for. So Azareye'h Thomas, he's a bigger guy, ranger guy, gets in guys' faces as a cornerback. If we look at his grades from PFF, ignore the 0 out of 109 cornerbacks. He hasn't played enough snaps to be put into that metric for PFF, but so far, his coverage grade has been a 67 flat, which is above the average for a cornerback. And that's very good to see because a rookie corner is very, very difficult to play in the NFL. Cornerback is a position that's arguably the hardest position to play in professional football. And just throw the fact that you're a rookie playing that position, it's a really tough ask for Azareye'h Thomas, especially when you're not like a top recruit, a top number 1 draft pick type of guy when it comes to the cornerback position. His run defense, not the best in the world. It's actually only slightly under average according to PFF, with a 60.6 PFF grade. Not something super catastrophic, but better than what Sauce Gardner was, I'm sure, graded out as. I don't know off the top of my head what Sauce Gardner's run defense grade is according to PFF, but you have to imagine it's not anything close to average. And Aaron Glenn wants his cornerbacks to be guys that are very physical players. He wants guys who he doesn't need them to impact the run in because his idea is our defensive linemen and linebackers are going to stop the run. But Aaron Glenn wants our cornerbacks to be able to tackle, to send a message. He wants the entire team to be physical, the entire team to be gritty, the entire team to say, don't mess with me. It's kind of like the kneecaps thing, biting with Dan Campbell. He said, if you knock us down, we're going to come back and bite a kneecap off. Aaron Glenn, a little bit the same way, saying we're going to fight. Like, if you knock us down, we're going to keep fighting. Who wants to fly with the Jets? He's going to keep saying that. Hopefully he does keep saying that and the New York Jets can continue to win. So that is the type of cornerback that Aaron Glenn wants. He likes taller guys, even though he, funny enough, was not a taller cornerback. Aaron Glenn only coming out at about 5'9". But Azareye'h Thomas is a taller guy, standing 5'11", which is taller, or I guess that's becoming more average now over the landscape of the NFL. But historically, that's a tall corner. Definitely a guy who is going to be, like I said earlier, being physical with the wide receivers that he's matching up with. But now moving on to, with this injury, I'm honestly not sure where we go with the starting cornerback room. Obviously, Brandon Stephens will retain his starting role as the outside cornerback on the opposite side from wherever Azareye'h Thomas would be lining up. Does Jarvis Brownlee move to the outside? That's most likely what's going to happen. And then we are going to move someone else down to the nickelback position. Most likely, with all these injuries and trading away Sauce Gardner, we are down a bunch of defensive backs. So you can imagine the New York Jets are going to stick to more base coverages instead of nickel and dime and quarters. You have to imagine anything with extra defensive backs, the New York Jets are going to go away from schematically, just because we are running out of players to actually run those formations effectively. And I know our defensive coordinator for this year, Stephen Wilkes, he loves the nickel defense and he loves getting a whole lot of defensive backs on the field. But if you don't have the guys if you don't have the personnel to run those type of personnel groupings, you just can't run those groupings. So we got to figure out something. Malachi Moore, you have to imagine, is going to stay back at strong safety, but earlier in his career, Malachi Moore has had some experience at the University of Alabama as playing as a nickel corner. So he is someone that already has experience playing at the nickel cornerback position. So that's an option. We can maybe bring up Isaiah Oliver to start at strong safety, move Malachi Moore down to the nickel back, and then kick Jarvis Brownlee outside instead of leaving him in the slot as a nickel back. I actually like that plan. I would imagine the New York Jets will go with that plan. But I think Quantez Stiggers he's a guy that I want to see him get a little bit more run. He was a 5th round pick from the 2024 draft. He was the MVP of another professional football league, which I think it was the CFL, Canadian Football League. That's something that I like. I like the fact that, when he's playing with other professional football players, he's still standing out, and I would like to see, I'm not expecting Quantez Stiggers to go absolutely crazy, but I'd like to see what he can bring to this team if we do have to put him in a starting role. But we've seen that there is a want from Darren Muji, and there is clearly an emphasis on adding more defensive backs to this room. We signed a defensive back out of free agency just yesterday. With this move, there opens up the opportunity for Darren Muji to go back to free agency and explore what other kinds of defensive backs can we add to this team. And you have to imagine he's always going to make sure that whatever players are being added to this depth chart from here on out, they're going to fill out the role of what Aaron Glenn and Darren Muji are looking for. They're looking for big physical players. One of the reasons why we have seen so many guys who have played really well for us get either benched or shipped off is because Aaron Glenn has a specific vision for what his defense is going to look like and what kind of players are going to be able to run his defense at the highest level. And the players that we have already in-house, they're good, but they're not perfect. And Aaron Glenn is looking for guys that are perfect for what his defensive scheme is going to be. And I know Aaron Glenn isn't calling the plays, but he's going to work closely hand in hand with Stephen Wilkes to find the players, to first of all, identify the types of players that will fit the scheme perfectly. And then together they'll go out and actually find the players who fit the prototype of exactly what they want to do schematically. And that's one of the reasons why a Sauce Gardner is available for trade, why a Quinnen Williams is available for trade. For Quinnen Williams was a pure 3 technique, which means he lines up with his hand in the dirt across from the offensive guard on his outside shoulder, the outside shoulder of the offensive guard. Aaron Glenn wants guys that are going to line up closer to the center more often. Big guys on the defensive line, even bigger than Quinnen Williams, which is what Mozzie Smith is, that new addition that we got from the Dallas Cowboys, the 2023 first-round pick that no one is really talking about, and mostly because he's not a very good football player, but he was a first-round pick. He's got some talent that can absolutely work. Now, Sauce Gardner, tremendous man corner, very, very good zone corner, but he's not as good at zone than he is in man coverage. So the Colts, they run a lot of man. The Jets don't run a lot of man. They said there's an opportunity here, and that's why Sauce Gardner is ever available for trade. If you are a man-dominant defense, you're never trading arguably the best man cornerback in the entire NFL. But when you are changing regimes and you're going to a defense under Stephen Wilkes where he loves fire zones, which is blitzes with zone coverage to have linebackers dropping back into the zones vacated by the blitzer. So imagine we have 3 linebackers, one linebacker blitzes, another one will go over and he will cover up that zone vacated by the blitzer. That's what a fire zone is. There's going to be a lot of that's what Stephen Wilkes loves to run, and the cornerbacks are going to be in zone defense on those plays, not man defense, so not Sauce Gardner's specialty. So Sauce Gardner would have ran our new defensive scheme, and he did run it at a high level, but it wasn't the elite first-team all-pro level that he ran in the past, and not the elite level that we now expect him to run the Indianapolis Colts defense at. So one of the reasons why the Colts traded for him is because he fits their defense perfectly, didn't fit our defense perfectly. He was worth more to the Indianapolis Colts, hence them trading picks where they said we would rather have the player instead of these picks, and we said we would rather have those picks instead of the players. But that's what I got for this video. Going to be interesting to see how the defensive back room works out this Thursday night against the New England Patriots. Appreciate you taking the time to watch the video. Hit that like button if you haven't already. Hit the subscribe button if you're new to the channel, and go Jets.